Hey everyone, it's Ceci with the Putting You On podcast, and I'm going to put you on. So I just watched the Piers Morgan debate on his Uncensored channel, and someone I know was on it. His name's Lucas. He is amazing. And I will say they're hypocritical. Piers Morgan and the rest of the Republicans on that panel are completely hypocritical. We're going to watch it, and I'll react to it, and there are places I'm going to stop along the way to explain things because they are hypocritical, and this conversation proves so. So let's get into it. Let's check it out.
The host of Games for Girls on Outkick.com, Gillian Michaels, host of Keeping It Real, Brian Shapiro, host of Pushing the Limits, and Lucas Bain, better known as the amazing Lucas. Okay, well, welcome to all of you. Brian Shapiro, I was sickened by what happened to Charlie Kirk. I think we can probably all agree. I hope we can all agree. It was sickening, although I had Destiny on the other night who couldn't bring himself to condemn it because Donald Trump hadn't said the right thing for him, which I think is a lamentable piece of moral cowardice. So let me just start by asking you, I presume you condemn and were horrified by what happened to Charlie Kirk?
Absolutely. I was on the air, Pierce, when it all happened. I got emotional. The first thing I thought about were his kids and his family. This is not only bad for Charlie Kirk, obviously, and bad for his family. It's bad for America. And I also feel for everybody that was traumatized, that was there that day, that had to see that. Now, with that being said, of course, I didn't agree with basically anything that Charlie Kirk stands for. But with that being said, anybody that's celebrating his death, I think that's despicable and it's disgusting. And I've called that out, and I've been very consistent on my opinions since day one. If there's one thing that me and Charlie...
Here's the thing I'll say about that, is I am not celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, but I'm also not mourning it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Kirk certainly agreed on, it's civil discourse and having political debate. I enjoy doing this show, Pierce, and I enjoy having respectful discussions with people that I disagree with. So this is a horrible, horrible situation. We could never condone political violence, no matter what side of the aisle it comes from.
Why have so many people on the far left, the woke left, been so brazen in their gleeful celebration of what happened?
Listen, I have not... First of all, no political figure, no politician has said, yay, Charlie Kirk died. So, enough already. If you're talking about people on TikTok and this and that, how many people have put out memes about George Floyd celebrating horrible police brutality towards black people? Get out of here. Get out of here. It happens on both sides. We know that. It just happens on one side more than the other. And we know what side that is, okay? We as humans get to decide what statistics are based on our individual behaviors. We decide. So if you don't want it to be another white guy who shoots another white guy, then white guys stop shooting. I don't know. You know what I mean? We decide what stats are as with our behavior. And they're not happy with the statistics. So stop fucking being one. God.
Charlie Kirk.
Well, my response to that, number one, is I'm not on the far left, so I certainly don't speak for them, but there's people on both sides of the aisle. I know Republicans don't want to hear that, but there are crazy lunatics on both sides of the aisle that celebrate really horrible things that happen to people in America. I don't agree with them. And if you're on the far left or the far right and you celebrate anybody getting murdered, then there's something wrong with you. And I don't feel bad for any of those people that were fired for celebrating his death. I think it's disgusting. Now, if you're just talking about him and saying, well, he wasn't a good guy, here's why I didn't like him, here are some of his quotes that he said in the past, I don't think you should be fired for that. I think there's a way to call out political violence and say Charlie Kirk didn't deserve this. I feel for his family, but I didn't like Charlie Kirk and I didn't like what he stood for. I think you could make both points respectfully.
Okay, Lucas Bain, I've been pointed out to me that you've posted some...
Right. Exactly. You don't have to celebrate it, but you don't have to mourn it either. Putting flags at half-mast for him was ridiculous, but not for Jimmy Carter.
Messages about Charlie Kirk on your Instagram, which we're going to show here. One is a post that's a parody of a Jubilee debate. I'm doing one of these myself soon, titled Charlie Kirk versus Bullet. Can one bullet to the neck outsmart one conservative? Well, that was a short watch. Number two is a mocked-up promotion poster called Kirk and Twerk at Neck of the Woods and hashtagged both Charlie Kirk and his widow. And the third was an image of a sunrise titled God Works in Mysterious Ways with the hashtag Charlie Kirk.
You know what? I mean, God does work in mysterious ways. They say it all the time.
killing and praying hands as an emoji. And you're laughing as I show these. Why do you find this funny?
Well, let me just say that I actually am a big advocate for dark humor. And I happen to have gotten a bit of a taste of that over the last, I don't know, maybe decade.
Guys, I'll tell you right now, I've met Lucas, he and I know each other, and that's true. He is a big advocate for dark humor, and he's actually really funny. Like, conversations we had are hilarious. And he's actually a very good dude.
Or so when it came to the right, and their memes of George Floyd, happy birthday being sober for 5 years. When they came to their memes of Breonna Taylor, when it came to their memes of Trayvon Martin, the Trayvon challenge, right? When it came to their memes of Tamir Rice. So I don't know what the issue is. I think I'm engaging in the freedom of speech that the right has been advocating for these last 10 years and mocking and making light of Black death, something that Charlie Kirk himself did time and time again. As a matter of fact, I would argue that if Charlie Kirk, instead of focusing his time on Black culture and Black on Black crime, if he had spent a modicum of his time focusing on the white youth, that perhaps he would still be with us today.
Are you pleased he's dead?
Lucas is 100% right. He said that very well, and he's right.
No, absolutely not.
So how did you feel about his murder?
But I don't think.
How did you feel about his murder?
How do I feel about his murder?
Yeah.
Well, I think a quote by a great author sums up the sentiment of millions of Americans around the world, and that is, some cause happiness wherever they go, others when they go. And I think that's a sentiment that is palpable amongst many Americans around the world due to the hate and vitriol and bile that Charlie Kirk sowed. So I think there was a pastor
just to be clear,
unless
I misheard you, then you are happy he died.
No, I don't think as far as happiness is an emotion that
some people cause happiness when they're here. Some people cause happiness when they go. That just and also that doesn't. He's not saying that applies to every person. Not every person has to feel. You don't have to feel anything. He was just a mouth. I don't get you can mourn it if you want to. I just. Here's the thing about what he said. It's accurate. That phrase is the mirror to the reaction that the United States has given this. The majority, anyway. Some of us, like me, I'm not celebrating it. I'm not mourning it. Same as Lucas. He's not celebrating it, but he's not mourning it either. Charlie Kirk said a lot of terrible things. He did spread hate. And when you are talking about hate and spreading hate, I don't know how you don't expect it to find you. And to say that there just needs to be an unfortunate amount of deaths for us to, keep the Second Amendment, well, again, our behavior dictates whether or not we become part of a statistic. And he became part of the stat that he said is, it's just going to happen. Sorry.
So you just read me a quote, which implies you're happy.
And by the way, that was his response to a school shooting. Okay, not just like a shooting of some adult. No, this was a school shooting.
You talked about some people's death bring happiness.
The purpose of the quote was to say that there are some people who have caused harm and death and turmoil to other groups of people, such as Charlie Kirk, whether it's Black people, whether it's, trans people.
No, I heard the quote.
The list
just to be
goes on.
clear, you said that the quote ends in that their death brings happiness, but you've denied that you were happy. But when you tell me a quote
I don't disagree that
when you
there
tell
are
me a quote
people
like
who
that,
are-
I presume from that quote you're implying that actually you are happy he died because he deserved it. He had it coming.
Piers Morgan, through this, kept, I feel like, twisting Lucas's words. So wait, you are happy. No, that's not what he's saying.
No, not at all. I don't think those are ever words that I've ever mentioned verbatim ever. I think there is a sentiment that when someone who lives their life in evil and wickedness, according to the scripture, the power of life and death is in your tongue. And the hate and the vile and the venom that he spewed, I don't know what to tell you. As the scripture says, as he professed, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I think his focus should have been on a community that, clearly is in problem. I find it interesting that there's more scrutiny on people who may make memes that they've done of George Floyd and other Black victims than on the white male youth that did this tragedy, as some would call it.
Why would you be offended about the memes to people like George Floyd, which I found contemptible at the time, if they're the same ones that you're talking about, why would you profess to be offended by those if you're quite happy to do the same kind of thing yourself?
I think the point that I'm making by the means that I'm putting out, which clearly has caused outrage and triggering, I find it a bit hypocritical that the people for years who said fuck your feelings are now overwhelmed with feelings at the moment. But the point that I was making was to point out the hypocrisy that the right has on a variety and myriad of issues, as we just saw with Pam Bondi on the freedom of speech. I think the issue is that they have scapegoated people like Pam Bondi for what is the crime of Donald Trump. The same thing they did with Anthony Fauci. We saw this when it came to the Second Amendment. They banned bump stock ban. They had a bump stock ban under Donald Trump while they were fear-mongering about Biden take away your guns. But as we saw, there was no outrage, there was no protest, and we come to find out that it was unconstitutional. So I think this hypocrisy is ubiquitous within the right, and I think my memes expose that hypocrisy.
100% right. Lucas is right. It's complete. They're so hypocritical. They are 100% hypocritical. And sorry, but again, we have to go back to statistics. They're so pissed at the left right now, but it was just another white dude who did it. Like, we really, and we need to examine the mental health issue in this country, okay? But Lucas is right. The hypocrisy is alive and well.
And what about your own personal humanity? I mean, hashtagging his widow in a mocked up promotion poster of Kirk and Twerk at Neck of the Woods. How do you justify targeting, hang on, how do you justify targeting his widow?
I think that's a bit disingenuous to use such hyperbolic language as targeting. I think it's more of a strategic plan of attack to get the message out to more people. When we saw Erica Kirk, she had a moment to speak for unity within the country, left and right, and she chose to fundraise. She then chose to use the scripture and talk, very nicely of her, past husband. And I understand that. But by that same token, there are people who are absolutely harmed by the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk put out. And that rhetoric actually codified in many cases in many states. So I think it's abhorrent and actually perverse to expect people who are harmed by his rhetoric, harmed by someone who had anti-black, anyone who wasn't white and Christian in his perspective. I think it's perverse to try and criticize those people or try and make them seem as if they're the bad guys. When that's
but see, funny enough, I can look at what you've done and I can see somebody who is abhorrent and despicable and actually evil, actually.
I'm going to let you know right now, Lucas is not evil. He's not. Like I said, we've met. I know him. Dude, he's totally a good person. He just does have a dark sense of humor. That's it. I don't understand it anymore. Why do people not understand any kind of nuance? Also, again, the hypocrisy.
The stuff when you target someone's widow as she grieves.
Once again, I disagree with the word targeting.
I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me personally. My view of what you've done. I don't care about your motivation in terms of other people's inappropriate memes, many of which I may well agree with you about. But that doesn't mean that I then go and do it myself or worse, because that makes me even more inhuman and abhorrent. And by your definition,
I disagree. I think
evil. I know you disagree. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. I know. I'm just telling you. I know. Hang on.
They have to see.
I'll let you have your say.
I'm a mirror.
I've let you have your say.
What they have shown.
I'll let you have your say.
And if they don't like what they see,
I'm telling you.
They should actually detour.
I'm using your own. I'm using your own justification to tell you what I think of you and what you've done. Right? That's my free speech at work. Let me bring in Gillian Michaels. I mean, Gillian, look. I saw Brian there nodding to some of what he was hearing there, not all, to be clear, but nodding to some of it about the hypocrisy which Lucas claims he is exposing with this stuff. What is your view of what he's said?
I find this exceptionally sad because, Lucas, you talk about how hurt you were and how offended you were by such despicable things, and then you became the thing that you found the most repulsive, which is alarming, and as I mentioned, deeply saddening. I would be more than happy to litigate some of Charlie's positions for you. I abjectly...
I don't think I need any litigation from a woman who tried to downplay slavery, who tried to all lives matter slavery after she purchased a black child. That's what I would argue. I don't think you need to as far as litigate anything. Would you like to
discuss it?
Okay.
Because the reality of the situation is that what I gave you, whether you like it or not, is a fact from the 1860 census. And
it literally is not a fact. It
slavery.
is actually a bastardization of actual history. What you cited was inaccurate. You can actually look it up. I don't know if you did. I doubt you do your due diligence. You clearly did not, because in that study that you're citing, in the study that I'm discussing it right now, in the study that you're citing, it takes into account not only the slaves, it takes into account the northern states and the southern states. So to try and implement or to say this all lives matter when it comes to slavery, which is abhorrent and extreme contradiction to American history, especially in this country as chattel slavery as Black Americans, is abhorrent and perverse, especially you, who is the mother of a Black child, who she purchased.
Right.
Other people
is it my
adopt.
turn to talk?
You purchased.
Is it?
By all means.
How did I? Okay, well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by purchase. She's adopted, and it is illegal.
Did you pay?
I think Lucas is so well spoken, honestly. I think he's making his points very clearly, and I don't understand why they're so damn confused.
Did you pay to get that child?
No, I paid the adoption agency
It was
fees to do my
absolutely free.
study.
It was absolutely
I
okay.
paid the adoption agency like you
So then
paid
there was
to
a process
adopt a
of payment.
child.
I
to
believe
an
that other
American
people adopt. You
adoption
purchased.
agency. Okay, you're wrong, and that's defamation.
I'm literally
and it's
right
an
as you're
absolute
saying
lie,
that you
and
paid
it's-
to an adoption agency.
You're literally wrong, and it's this
I'm
kind
literally
of hateful.
You know what you are? You know what you are,
I
Lucas?
think what's
Let me
hateful
just...
is you
Hang
downplaying
on, let me jump in
That's
here.
what I think is
Let me
hateful.
jump in
I
here,
didn't actually
Lucas.
downplay
Let me jump in
slavery.
here, Lucas.
That's
Seems to
literally
me,
what you did.
Seems to me, Lucas, you've decided to be just as offensive as you want to be. You're now attacking people who adopt children, which is one of the most selfless things that any human being could do, actually.
This is literally what
But
the
you-
right did to Dave Rubin, is
Fine,
it not?
Fine, but what you're doing is just trying to be as offensive as possible whilst masquerading under this umbrella of, well, everybody else is offensive, so that's why I'm doing it, to expose
Not
all
at
the
all, Nancy.
hypocrisy.
If that's
But
what I'm
Gillian
doing,
is
I
right.
apologize
Gillian is
sincerely.
right.
What
That
I'm
actually,
really trying to
you
do
have descended.
is create
You
a
have,
better
the
world.
way you've
What
just
I'm
gone
trying to
after
do is to
Gillian.
unify
You know
people.
what, Lucas?
The only
Stop
way we can
talking.
unify people
Stop
is when
talking.
people understand the
Stop
harms that
talking.
they've done.
You've targeted Gillian for adopting a child. That is despicable. Let me bring in Riley
I
Gaines.
targeted Jillian for adopting a Black child after she downplayed slavery, which
Right.
I think is contradictory.
Right. You
Actually,
attacked her for adopting a
adopted
child.
I mean, let's not
13 years
misconstrue
ago.
my words that I'm saying.
Oh, I heard your words. Let me
Yeah,
bring in.
I
Let me
did
bring
too,
in.
Lucas.
Let me bring in Riley.
You're
Riley.
misinterpreting
Let me
that.
bring in Riley Gaines.
Exactly. Like, they keep spinning his words and totally misinterpreting them.
Sure, buddy.
Riley, you've been waiting patiently.
Great rebuttal, Jillian.
Okay, can you speak, please? Let the other speak, please. Okay.
I wasn't actually allowed to talk, Lucas, but I'm more than happy actually to have you on my podcast.
That's because anything that
and
comes out your mouth is that big.
we can discuss all of it.
All right, let me bring in
Well,
Riley.
if you'd like to come on my podcast, I would be more than happy to give you
Okay,
a platform.
that's a different
I'm more than
podcast
willing.
for a different
More
time.
than willing to have discourse.
Okay,
just
you know
to
what?
honor Charlie Kirk,
If you're
to be
willing for
honest.
discourse, let Riley Gaines speak. Riley, what
Absolutely.
is your view of what you've been hearing?
I mean, honestly, like, it makes me feel tearful. Like, I have experienced all of the emotions.
I'm just going to say really quick, I can't stand her. I cannot stand Riley Gaines.
Over the past week. It has been to the day 7 days. I think initially starting with total shock and disbelief and honestly confusion. I've been so blessed in my life to not have been surrounded by death much in my family. I haven't lost really anyone close to me. Charlie was a friend, a mentor of mine. He's who ultimately I attribute to giving me my voice, the platform that I have. I attribute that to Turning Point USA, to Charlie Kirk. So to lose a friend like that, like I have gone through all the emotions, but to sit here today and listen to the discussions that we have seen, I think particularly from Lucas, whether it was about the memes that were posted, whether it was about Jillian adopting a Black child. I mean, I am just like in total disbelief, disarray. How have we reached a point where these are the discussions that we're having and on a national stage here? Like, we have Democratic elected officials who are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, the best and most effective
Not true.
Debater of our time.
All they do is lie.
Activist, really. I think debater is really downplaying.
That's not true.
ultimately.
Here, she's lying.
Yes.
She is lying. She's 100% lying.
Wait.
What is the lie
Name me one
there?
prominent. Name me one. Hey, Riley. Name me one prominent Democrat that has celebrated the death. And I find it very interesting.
Right.
You've made a living attacking transgenders. You've made millions of dollars across the country doing that.
I didn't
if you
ask for
truly
this.
care about, if you, I didn't
didn't
listen.
ask for
I'm
the
sorry you
position
lost
I'm
your
in.
friend. Okay, hold on a second. Yes, in this case you have. You've made millions
have
of
not.
dollars profiting, going across the country. You've made a lot of money and you've made a name for yourself. Nobody knows who you are as a college swimmer unless you're attacking transgenders. Now, if you care about children, then
Wow.
why have you not criticized Donald Trump?
He's 100% right. I wouldn't know who she was unless she had, been transphobic to that trans woman. And here's the thing Riley doesn't seem to get, right? She tied for fifth. So, she still would have lost to 4 other women, and that trans woman still would have lost to 4 women. Like, girl, swim faster.
If you care about children and women, then why have you not gone after Donald Trump for not bringing out the Epstein files. If you care about children, why don't you talk about gun control? I'm happy that transgender is out of that volleyball tournament, okay? But there's more important things that we should be talking about, and you've profited off of attacking transgenders with your hatred towards transgender people. Nobody knows who you are as a college swimmer. People know who you are because you go around the country attacking transgenders, Riley. That's who you are.
Actually, what she's done, Brian, very heroically, in my opinion, is she's gone around the country defending women's rights to fairness, equality, and safety. Something that I'm very surprised to hear that you, on the left, do not wholeheartedly endorse and agree with.
Pierce, let me respond to what you just said.
Sure.
If in fact Riley Gaines, by the way, Pierce, I've had this conversation on your show about transgenders.
Yep.
I don't think transgender women should be competing with women on the playing
field. So you agree with her?
However, I do, but here's my problem with Riley.
What are you
she
talking
doesn't
about?
talk about the. Let me explain. She doesn't talk about the non-release of the Epstein files and real victims of sexual abuse. She doesn't criticize Donald Trump. She doesn't talk about how flags weren't at half-mast after children are massacred in schools.
Do you
she
talk about?
only
Okay, let me
talks
ask you.
about transgenders.
Let me ask you. Do you talk
It's
about?
so funny because
hang on. I'm talking. Riley.
Everything that I've ever said on any
Hang on,
topic
Riley.
ever.
Hang on, Riley. So, Brian, your position is that unless you talk out publicly about every single issue that is important in the world, then it disqualifies you from talking about the issue that you not only care about most because it happened to you, but you are passionate about because it protects women's rights. Is that your position?
Pierce, here's my position. You don't have to talk about every single issue, but when the second leading cause of death in children is gun violence, you probably should bring that up. When we talk about MAGA Republicans who have talked about the Epstein files and horrible abuse, Maxwell was one of the largest sex traffickers in the world. And the Donald Trump administration have sent her to a club.
Why does Riley Gaines have to do all that? Why does Riley Gaines?
Because she says she cares.
No, Riley Gaines cares about.
Said, let me answer.
Riley Gaines cares because a very, very tall, muscular, powerful male called Leah Thomas said suddenly, who was a very moderate, unsuccessful male swimmer, suddenly said, "I'm a woman," and then began destroying women in the women's pool. It was clearly grotesquely unfair, unequal, and actually dangerous. And we saw the same thing happen in a boxing ring in Paris in the Olympics.
I would like to be able to
and
speak for
for
myself,
Riley to be condemned.
Exactly. Lucas said it. Didn't they tie? Yes, they tied for 5th, bro. Riley, you still would have lost to 4 women. And according to you, if you don't want to say she, I'll say it the way you would. He would have still also lost to 4 women. What are we doing? Swim faster, girl. Again.
Condemned by you.
That'd be super cool.
For Riley to be condemned by you because she doesn't also talk about other issues is absurd. Anyway,
Well, first of all, that's not even
you know what?
Critical.
We'll come back to this. I'm just going to hold the panel here for a moment. A brief timeout. I've been joined by Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace.
Oh,
Nancy,
God,
welcome back to Uncensored. We're just having a kind of insane debate, in my opinion. But there's a lot of insanity flying around at the moment. One of which is the utterly appalling spectacle of so many on the left openly, brazenly.
She has constantly been saying the shooter was transgender, the shooter, and then uses the slurs for transgender, is calling for an all-out war on them, basically. She is abhorrent. Nancy Mace is disgusting. She also leverages her own sexual assault so that she can use it against the transgender community as a card. It's disgusting.
Proudly celebrating the murder of.
And I want to say this. At the end of the day, what she's really concerned by, right, is, okay, if we let transgender women into our restrooms, then, men could pretend they're transgender and go into our restrooms. So what she's still worried about at the end of the day is the straight guy, is the men, right?
Of Charlie Kirk. How have we got here as a society?
Well, it's insane. You can just see in the previous debate, you saw 2 grown men, Democrat men, screaming, yelling on your program at 2 women. Riley Gaines is one of the brightest, smartest, youngest minds fighting for what she believes in, and we want to encourage that, not discourage it. I don't want to discourage anyone out there to prevent them from speaking out by getting yelled at. I was yelled out yesterday in front of Don Lemon.
Don Lemon was not yelling at her. He was doing his job as a journalist, which is to ask questions and to point out when you're lying. Literally on camera, lying to the American people.
At the steps of the Capitol, and all we want to do, I'm a rape survivor. All I want as a rape victim is to ensure that men aren't in my bathroom or Riley's bathroom.
So who's she really concerned with? The trans woman or the straight guy who's going to take advantage of it? She's worried about the cisgendered male still. She just doesn't want to say that. And she's also, I mean, she's just transphobic. She's a hateful, see you next Tuesday.
Bathroom or in the shower next to us, that is dangerous and it's uncalled for. But to see those men on your program yelling at the women who are just talking freely, talking in a sane and normal manner, trying to have a colloquy, trying to have a national conversation, and they're being screamed at. That's how we got here. And until the left and until the Democrat Party acknowledges their role in this, it's not going to get better. And I have to tell you,
you know, they're always talking about how Tyler Robinson was radicalized by the left. Listen, I'll tell you right now, sometimes they want to sit there and say, oh, the left pulled him in. Maybe the right pushed him to this, okay? I don't think the left pulled him into it. I think the right pushed him into it.
It's terrifying right now to be a conservative. I am carrying my 6-hour P365 everywhere I go. I have armed guards everywhere I go. I can't even go to the grocery store alone anymore. I can't even walk my dog without a gun because I have so many on the left.
I'm going to call it right now. Nancy Mace is going to kill someone. I think that she's going to shoot someone. I do. And I don't know who it's going to be, but she is going to shoot someone. I think so.
Democrats, a lot of transgenders who are emailing, calling, trying to show up at my office, threatening to kill me, my children, my family, my elderly parents, father of my children. And I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to be terrified. And I'm going to figuratively fight back, figuratively push back, and protect my safety. Today, I'm going to lead a floor debate against Ilhan Omar. Lucas was asking about a prominent Democrat celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. They're everywhere. But let's start with Ilhan Omar, who's right down the hall from me right now. I'm in Congress at the Capitol, who celebrated the murder and political assassination of Charlie Kirk by saying that people who were mourning his death were full of shit, excuse my language, but no, and is posting content celebrating his murder, calling Charlie Kirk a terrorist. I can't even with these people because they just won't tell the truth. And like,
she will not tell the truth. She will never tell the truth. I'm going to show you a clip as well from here.
Transgender was a tranny. Come on, let's be honest about this.
That's disrespectful.
I really don't care because there are a lot of trannies out there that want me dead because I'm a rape victim who wants privacy in the bathroom. The trannies can F off.
She's leveraging her sexual assault to wage war on transgender people.
I don't care. They want to kill me, and they're not going to.
How would you like it if someone called you out of your name? If they called you a B word or any of that, how would you feel?
These people are calling me a cunt and all these awful names online. Are you kidding me? Come on. They are the most egregious, most vile, violent people on earth. They are mentally ill and should be in a straitjacket with a hard steel lock on it.
Disgusting. Disgusting. Wasn't transgender. Lie. She's using her own sexual assault to leverage war and hate onto a transgender community, which, by the way, makes up less than 1% of our population. What the hell is wrong with her? And at the end of the day, the person who she's most likely to be sexually assaulted by is an American-born man. That's it. Statistically speaking. All right, anyway, let's go back to...
I love having a debate. I love coming on and having a conversation, even when we disagree, Pierce. But there's never anything ill or negative or like, I don't want to bring harm on anybody, but we have to tell the truth. And how do you...
Sorry, I just can't believe she said that. I don't want to bring harm to anybody. What?
Unite with people who refuse to tell the truth, who continue to lie. I don't know how you continue to have a conversation with these people. We have to shun them.
Do you have to be careful? You know, I watched Pam Bondi trying to explain that hate speech is something that the Attorney General believed should be pursued with the full force of the law, and I recoiled from that, as did many on the right, because actually the First Amendment protects hate speech. It doesn't protect incitement to violence or acts of violence, but you can say hateful things and be protected under the...
Which she does. She does.
The First Amendment, and it was pretty staggering to hear an Attorney General who doesn't seem to realise that. Some have criticised you because you have a hotline. You've encouraged people to call in, and you know, if people are saying bad things about Charlie Kirk.
Pierce Morgan will never push back when it comes to the transgender stuff. He never questions her on that. He's pushing back. He's like, oh, you're, you know, people who, this is her tweet. If you know of any South Carolina teacher, state employee, or federally funded employee who has celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk, report it anonymously to Team Mace with the tip line. Stupid fucking... I can't with her, dude. I can't.
And so on. You know, there will be people on the left saying, well, this is just complete hypocrisy, because really what you're operating with this is a form of a very cancel culture that you and others on the right have always professed to hate. What do you say to that?
Well, this is a cancel culture, and I have voted and I've supported legislation that protects the freedom of speech, that protects the First Amendment. I've been out there on the Epstein files too, protecting survivors, by the way. There are Republicans out there who are very vocal, like myself. But free speech has consequences, and I'll quote Ilhan Omar, who tweeted that you have the right to say anything you want, you have the right to those opinions, but there are consequences. And if you are around children, my particular focus is on the educational system, those that are teaching our kids or in the classroom, and those who are making healthcare decisions for people. I don't want the bias and those who are celebrating the murder of a political class, a political side that they don't agree with. They should not be making medical decisions for others, and they should not be indoctrinating their kids. We look at Tyler Robinson, 22-year-old kid who self-admittedly murdered Charlie Kirk because he didn't like his opinions and thought he was full of hate. They're condoning this, they're endorsing this. He was radicalized, we believe, at school and in the education system. We can't allow that. I mean, when I was growing...
He went to school in Utah, bro. Okay? I'm sure that most of his teachers were not leaning left or spewing, like, celebrating Charlie Kirk. Like, he grew up in Utah in a religious MAGA family.
Oh my God. Teachers were just normal. You had no idea.
Again, sometimes people aren't pulled into something, they're pushed. And so maybe he wasn't pulled in by the left, maybe he was pushed by the right to do this.
What their politics were. And now kids are forced to say, what are your pronouns? And can you define 100 genders? And, they're being influenced and inspired and radicalized. And this can't be happening. This is how we got here. And we have to admit that this is the truth and that we're going to work together to end it. And they don't want to. They don't want to. And I don't know what else to do. I want to defund the schools that allow teachers that celebrate murder to stay there and stay employed.
So she wants to penalize students then, because if she's going to get rid of teachers, who are the other teachers that are going to fill in? She literally doesn't give a shit about kids. She doesn't care at all. Her entire agenda is just come down on the transgenders. It's insane. That community, just leave them alone.
Right? I want to defund.
I want to ask her too. I wish somebody would ask, did the person who sexually assaulted you, were they transgender? I don't know if anyone's ever asked her that. Because I guarantee the answer to that is no.
Them. And I want to shame these teachers out of existence. I don't want them anywhere near my kids. No. Or yours.
Nancy Mace, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the panel.
Please.
Brian Shapiro, did any of that give you pause for thought?
Well, first of all, I find it ironic that Nancy Mace is talking about telling the truth, yet she's the person who blamed the shooter in the Charlie Kirk murder as a transgender. I find that very ironic. She also called me a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a registered independent that is anti-Donald Trump. So I want to be very clear on that as well. Listen, now she mentioned Ilhan Omar. If that's true about Ilhan Omar and she made those statements, I totally disavow that. But I don't think anybody could name me 3 Democrats that are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death that are elected officials. Number 2, every Democrat out there is saying, this is wrong, for the most part, political violence, we should never celebrate it. And all the right is doing is blaming it on the radical left, including Donald Trump. Nancy Mace wants to say to bring people together. Donald Trump has divided us by blaming the radical left for what took place here.
So you would be blaming, okay, but
statistics,
Brian, be honest, if it was the other way around,
Yeah.
and the investigators said publicly, as they have, as has the governor of Utah, that all the evidence pointed to this person being radicalized by the far right, you would not hesitate to say this was a far-right assassination, and you would go on a massive rant about it. So there's a double standard there.
No,
right?
you're wrong. You're wrong. I don't do that, Pierce. You could look at my social media. No, you're wrong. Here's what I do. I call out political violence on both sides. If you recall, Pierce,
That wasn't
the
my
right.
point. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if he was a radical right, if he'd been radicalized by the right, I don't think you would be saying people shouldn't be talking about the radicalization.
The reason why, Pierce, I ever bring up the radical right is because the right never takes responsibility, literally, for anything.
But nor is the
They
left.
blame
But
Donald
nor
Trump.
is the left.
Listen,
the left, having
I'm
said
not
this
one
for
of-
years, now is doing exactly the same thing. I saw Jimmy Kimmel literally
Pierce, I'm
go.
very-
I saw Jimmy Kimmel go on a rant saying
Pierce,
this guy
Pierce.
was a MAGA guy, the shooter. Complete lie.
Pierce, I'm always consistent on this issue. It doesn't matter whether it comes from the right or the left. It's wrong. We need to call out political violence on both sides of the aisle.
We should
And I
also
think
be
that's what most
unafraid
Democrats and
to. Yeah, but Brian, you're missing my point. We should also be unafraid to call out radicalization when we see it as a primary motivation for these assassinations.
So do you
How
think this
can we
shooter
talk
was a
about
radical
radicalization with
leftist?
I think this
Kirk.
person was, as the
And
investigators
the
are
rhetoric
saying,
that he used.
I'll come to you in a moment, Lucas. As the investigators are saying, as the governor is saying, the governor has hit a very, in my view, sensible tone throughout all this. As they've all been saying, all the evidence is pointing to a young man who was radicalized to the left.
Okay, so let me respond to that real quickly. So first of all, even if that is true, I totally disagree with what Megyn Kelly said. If you're somebody who wants to kill somebody because you disagree with their beliefs, then there's something wrong with you. You are crazy. So Pierce, even if that was true, now we know he comes from a conservative Mormon family.
Yep.
I don't really care what his political affiliation is. I'm grateful that his father, and a transgender, by the way, who two people on this panel continue to attack, there's a transgender that we should be thanking.
The two people on this panel haven't even got a chance to say a word yet. Because
Just
letting them talk.
All right, let me bring in the two women here. Let me bring in
Who
Jillian.
they are. We actually don't need to say
Don't
who
talk
they
at once,
are. They're
please.
showing the
Can the
world
two
who
men
they
shut
are.
up for a moment? Jillian.
There are so many lies here, I don't know which to tackle first. The reality is that we are here because of the very things you guys are doing in this moment. You refuse to engage in any sort of intelligent dialogue or debate. You just name call. We're bigots. We're racist. This is exactly how we got here. This kind of othering, this kind of demonization. If you guys want to have an intelligent conversation about something that I have said, something that Riley has said, or something that Charlie has said, I'm absolutely here for it. But in this moment, you are very clearly showing the world that you are an integral part of this problem, and it's irrelevant what side of the aisle you're on. It's a human characteristic of demonizing others, and you both have it.
All right, Riley.
Can I just...
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
Riley
I
will
would just
go
like the
next.
opportunity to defend myself for a second, because Brian, what you said is like the most ill-informed thing I've ever heard. Number one, to insinuate that I'm not a good athlete, as if that even matters, okay? I'm one of the fastest Americans of all time. Can you name me 3 female swimmers?
The reason why I said nobody would
Can you
know
name
who
me
you are,
3
because
female
you are-
swimmers? If you're going to talk about how no one knew me,
No.
can you name me 3 of the top female swimmers in this nation or this
99%
world?
of the country. 99% of the country can't name 3 female swimmers. The only reason why we know who
Okay,
you are is
precisely.
because you
So
have transgender
why
24/7.
didn't
I mean, honestly, I can't name 3 female swimmers either.
my athletic ability, which again, one of the fastest in the nation and the world, really, for that matter, when I was competing.
If you can, though, without Googling, put it in the comments. I'm curious. But don't Google. Like, be honest.
Why did that have anything to do with anything? Are you saying only the best female athletes, only the best of the best, only those who are winning Olympic gold medals deserve fairness? Is that what you're saying? Make it clear to
No,
me, please.
what I'm saying is...
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to continue on now. To say that I have not been a voice
So
for
you don't want me to-
Epstein
so you don't want me to
victims is
respond to your
ridiculous.
question?
This is a recent
No,
tweet
they
that I
want
put
to be
out that I
victims.
got a lot of flack for. I said, I serve Christ, not a politician. That
Why
being
won't
said,
Donald Trump release
no
the
way
Epstein files?
we are going to act like the proven harm and abuse of
Because he's
Epstein
in 'em.
cause never happened. His victims deserve so much better than that. There is no line to walk when it comes to sex trafficking, especially of children. So to
Okay,
slander
Riley, may I ask
me
you a
and
question?
say that I have not been a voice
Riley?
for Epstein victims is ridiculous.
Okay,
I
Riley.
have been a voice for
Riley,
the
may I
women
ask
in
you a
Muslim
question?
countries, in Afghanistan, in Yemen, in South Sudan,
Okay.
who are under Sharia law, who don't get to get an education,
Riley.
who don't get to go to the gym, who don't get to go to the doctor. Like, I've been a voice for all these women. So to sit here and
Okay,
act like you know
understood.
me, number one, is
Riley?
ridiculous and
Riley?
entirely
Okay,
defamatory.
Riley, can I respond? Okay, Riley.
Now that I'm done,
Understood.
absolutely.
Let me ask. Okay, so Riley, when Donald Trump bragged about going into teenage girls' locker rooms on the Howard Stern show, are you willing to condemn Donald Trump right now on the program, or the fact that he's a liable sexual abuser and a 34-count felon? He bragged about going into teenage girls' locker rooms. If you care, which I believe you do, by the way, Riley, if you care about young women, are you willing to condemn Donald Trump for going into teenage girls' locker rooms without their permission?
I think any man who violates a woman's privacy, safety, fairness when it comes to athletic competitions is detestable and condemnable. Easy
Fairness.
peasy, lemon
I didn't
squeezy.
ask my Hey, Pierce. This is why I bring this up. I'm so glad she said that. She went back to transgenders and she didn't answer my question. So I will try to ask it again.
I said
Riley.
nothing about
Are you willing
transgenders.
to?
It's telling
She
that
said
you
it-
insinuate
any
I said fairness
man.
is first.
that I'm talking
Women
about
Women's
men.
She won't answer the
spaces.
I
question.
addressed the galvanizing
Just
that was made
did.
by Jillian.
Any
Pierce,
man.
can I just finish this?
Any
real
man-
quick?
But she won't call him out by name. She'll never say that. They never will just say it.
She won't condemn.
So that
She won't
answers
condemn Donald Trump for anything.
You sound like a little child who's throwing a hissy
I think
fit.
that would
Pierce,
include-
Pierce,
to
she
be
won't
fair, I think
condemn
that
this.
She won't answer the
Pierce.
question.
All right, let me bring in
She won't
Lucas.
answer the question.
Let me bring in Lucas.
Any
to respond.
man.
I
Let Lucas
believe that-
respond.
To be fair, she didn't name him by name, but I think that would include Donald Trump. But to bring up as far as the galvanizing, which is, I think, what we're witnessing is gaslighting and political schizophrenia at its peak. Because when we talk about galvanize, we have to look at the body of work that Charlie Kirk did. Whether it was to, once again, dehumanize black people, to say that black women
Can we
were
look at
low
that?
IQ and non-deserving of their positions, right? Whether it was to bastardize as far as a black American lexicon, whether it's the perversion of woke, or whether it was the perversion of black fatigue, something that was crucial to black history, even to this day, whether it was the perversion of CRT, I think it's absolutely diabolical to say that this is coming from the left when Charlie Kirk spent most of his life to do that. I think when he talks about Black Death, when it's Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, all these people that he vilified, all these people that he could care less about. But you want to know something? There's not one mention of Daniel Schaefer. I mentioned Daniel Schaefer. White man killed, police brutality. There's not one mention of Jared Lackey on any of his posts. I mentioned Jared Lackey. White man tased to death, police brutality. There is not one mention of Kelly Thomas. There is not one mention of Ryan Whitaker, killed, shot in the back, white man, because he was playing video games too loud. So to say that they care about, police brutality, they care that that's not galvanizing. They are galvanizing, Charlie Kirk and other people like him are galvanizing their audience to, ironically, to promote a white victimhood complex.
It's a good play on Lucas, too. You know, like, hey, you guys are being brutalized as well.
On a certain group of white individuals who feel disassociated with society currently.
All right, Brian, hold fire.
Same thing that they argued that was happening to black people. They are now prophetizing.
You made your point.
Very well said. And I'm telling you, again, like, Lucas is very smart. He just does have a dark sense of humor. And, like, whatever. All his points he's making, I think, very clear.
Brian, I'm going to come back to you in one moment. We're going to bring in another guest now, Jeffree Star, who's a cosmetics influencer. Thank you very much indeed for joining me, Jeffree. You've gone viral. You've gone viral this week for this TikTok live.
He encouraged everyone to speak about their beliefs, whether he believed them or not. Am I a Republican? No, I'm a person. Because I'm standing up for someone that passed away, I'm now being called names in the chat. This is what's wrong with a lot of you people. You will never get far in life. You are sick in the head. Someone just said they're unsubscribing from me. Thank God, please. Because if you believe in they and thems, you're part of the problem.
Jeffree Star has, lost his mind. Honestly, this fool. You're gonna see. The things I want to say.
If you're so stupid enough to go against science, please unfollow me.
Jeffree, what happened to you as a consequence of that going viral?
So about 100,000 people have unfollowed me this week for speaking about Charlie, the entire thing. I can't believe so many people in America are cheering and praising his death. It's honestly disgusting. So while I was live streaming, I found out about what happened in real time, and it was so horrifying and devastating. I followed him for a few years.
I think when a person dies, the reaction speaks volumes as to who they were. And he has a lot of people mourning, and he has some people celebrating. I don't know what else we would expect with how extreme he was. People want to say he was a moderate. No, he was not.
Do I agree with everything he's ever said? Of course I don't. But I loved a lot of what he said, and it resonates with me. But the good news is...
Which parts? Oh, no.
This is hundreds of thousands of more people have followed me, and they're on the exact same page. So I don't care about the following. It's not about that. I just had to speak my mind.
Have you been surprised, shocked, depressed by the reaction? I'm genuinely stunned. I thought I'd seen everything in the news game going back 40 years. But to see the outpouring of gleeful celebration of a young man's murder for expressing his opinions, and a young man who would deliberately go into the opposition territory, college campuses, and get people to line up and say, come on argue with me in a respectful way. The idea that he gets murdered for doing that all the time seemed particularly perverse to me. Were you?
Exactly.
How did you feel about it?
I was honestly horrified because I'm someone that's always been outspoken. I love the truth, and for some reason people are afraid of the truth. I've been told all week, he would have hated someone like you. No, he would have respected me because I'm my own person and I know how to have my own thoughts. So when I saw it in real time, I was completely devastated. I can't believe someone that has an opinion is now dead. It's disgusting.
Yeah, Brian, when you hear that, do you find it disgusting, the reaction that Jeffree's had?
Yeah, absolutely. 150%. I think anybody who celebrates Charlie Kirk's death is absolutely disgusting. And I applaud you for, doing the right thing and being a good human being and saying this is horrible. Charlie Kirk didn't deserve this. I feel for his kids and his family. Doesn't mean we have to agree with everything Charlie Kirk stood for, which obviously I don't. But for the people that are attacking you on social media, I've gotten death threats as well. It's despicable, and I feel for you. We should be able to have a respectful dialogue about Charlie Kirk, and I would certainly welcome that with Jillian, and I have some questions for her if we have the time.
Well, ask her now.
Well, Jillian, hi Jillian. I agree with you. I think a respectful conversation.
I have not had a death threat, but I have had rape threats. And it's funny the DMs I get, because they either say, and it's never in the comments, but they always say, you're my hero, or I hope you get raped. And it's just so clear, like, how polarized we are and how we've lost all nuance. Why can't I be your hero and you want to rape me? You know, like, come on, two things can be true at once here, okay? Like, yes, there's violence on the left, but there's more on the right. Those two things can be true at once.
And political discourse is good. It's one thing I have in common with Charlie Kirk. Here's what I would say, ask you about. The day Paul Pelosi was bludgeoned with a hammer, the day after that, Charlie Kirk went on his podcast, he made jokes about it, and on his show he asked his listeners to donate to the person who tried to kill Paul Pelosi. Are you willing to admit that that's also wrong? Because Charlie Kirk did that on his show.
If Charlie did that, I 100% agree with you. I haven't seen that. A lot of the stuff that I have seen and experienced with Charlie, he advocates consistently against violence. So if he did that, I am in 100% agreement with you. And in fact, came prepared today to
He advocates against violence, but at the same time, his response to a school shooting was, well, you know, there's just going to have to be an unfortunate amount of, you know, certain deaths per year for us to have our Second Amendment rights.
talk about this kind of violence and othering on both sides. And I could talk about I believe it was 2016 when Donald Trump talked about people who believe in the Second Amendment going out and taking care of some of these politicians who didn't agree with him, because I think the othering and the demonization and the labeling is devastating our culture, and it is literally getting people killed. So if Charlie did that, then I agree with you on that. I'm unfamiliar with it. I'd have to watch it myself.
Right. So, Jillian, I appreciate you giving me that answer. But he also said that Michelle Obama and Joy Reid don't have the processing brain power to be taken seriously. He called gay people destructive. He said Taylor Swift should submit to her husband. He also said that he blamed Jewish money for ruining America. Again, let me preface this by...
That's the funny part. Jillian, you're gay. What's going on, girl? Like, these people, they talk shit about you, man.
I watched a lot of that
stuff.
I watched a lot of that stuff, and that's mischaracterized. And when he was talking about DI, it actually is, and I'm more than happy to send you numerous videos where Charlie talks about the conservative movement and how there is absolutely room for people who are gay, and goes on to admonish somebody who says that there are not. He talks about Dave Rubin, he talks about Peter Thiel. I'm giving you the exact words out of his mouth. I have to be
Jillian,
I am
Jillian, just let me respond.
You don't want
10 seconds.
Okay.
Jillian. No, Jillian, I just want 10 seconds respectfully. Thank you. I'm sure that Charlie Kirk has said a lot of nice things about a lot of people. But I'm sure he said a lot of nice things about people, but that doesn't take away the bad things that he said also. I played those videos on my show yesterday. I didn't take them out of context. I didn't take them out of context. Okay, so explain to me when Charlie Kirk says that blacks were better off in the 1940s and that the Civil Rights
I actually
Act...
can explain that in detail. I can explain that in detail. There's an hour and 22-minute long podcast where he dives into it. And what he goes on to talk about is that the intentions of the Civil Rights Act were fantastic. The desire for equal opportunity, but that because it was so broad and so vague, it made room for things like demanding equal outcomes. He cites a case where teachers in New York have to take a basic standardized test, okay? And this started in the 1980s and the 1990s. Unfortunately, Black and Hispanic teachers didn't pass at the same rate that whites and Asians did. Now, instead of looking at why is this happening, where is the disparity, how can we fix this, what's broken with the system, years later, New York as a state was sued because these teachers failed at disproportionate rates and had to pay $1 billion. He's turning around saying, this is crazy. This is insane. I happen to...
Brown and Black communities are also well underfunded when it comes to schools in their communities.
That's crazy, and it doesn't fix what's actually broken.
He talks about how...
This is the point. Using outside cases to paint a broad spectrum of people.
He outright says that first of all, Charlie doesn't even believe in race. He goes on to talk about how it's a social construct. He goes on to praise Martin Luther King's position that we shouldn't judge men on the color of their skin, but on the
You mean the same Martin Luther King who he vilified?
Do you know what he vilified?
What are we talking about? This is
let me answer you. Actually.
Also, is this the same Jeffrey Star that said the N-word and called black women nappy-headed?
You don't want the answer.
The same Jeffrey Star.
Let me answer you.
I've never said that.
MLK.
Please stop lying.
Don't.
He did say that. I found the video, and he did say that.
We literally have it on video.
On this whole
His
show.
top criticism
It's not on YouTube, but you can find it on X.
of MLK.
He literally just
Because YouTube took it down. Yeah, so, I mean, I saw it, it was said, look it up on X, it's like, I think I put in Jeffree Star said N-word. You'll find it.
Most interesting. Oh my God.
Google it.
His top.
I hear what you're saying, Jillian. I absolutely understand what you're saying.
You
and I
don't.
would
Let
argue
me
that
tell
it
you
is-
his top criticism. His top criticism.
How are you going to tell me what he said? We've seen what he said. I'm very familiar
Clearly
with
you
it.
haven't. Clearly
I
you
was literally a
haven't.
part of Turning Point USA at one
Clearly-
point. So I'm very familiar with it.
So tell me
But the
what
problem
did-
is the
what were his
scrutiny-
top-
the
what were his top
scrutiny
criticisms?
the issue that I have is that the scrutiny.
And that's true. He was part of Turning Point USA at one point, and he used to be more on the right side of things, Lucas. And I mean, but he obviously isn't blind and sees that things are going to shit, that Trump is not a capable president, that there is hypocrisy on their side. Like, he's not a fool.
Not let me say it because it's totally antithetical to your narrative.
It's not about antithetical. It's about as far as fact check.
Then let
Did
me
you
say
fact
it.
check
Then
anything
let
that
me
he
say
said?
it. I
Did you
listened
fact
to
check
his
anything that he
screen.
said? I didn't ask that. I asked you to fact check anything that he said.
Every single
This like
thing.
being muted.
Yeah, I don't really know what we're getting to, because every time she tries to explain to you, Lucas, you just...
Apologies, go ahead, by all means.
Well, no, it's
Tell
just
me your
Jillian.
perspective of
You
what
don't
you
seem to
said.
understand the concept of a debate. Riley,
Jillian, I'm here to listen to Jillian, and I'm trying to have a respectful conversation with her. But Jillian, do you understand
There's
why
nothing
there are a lot of people
respectful
out there that are
about
very...
this, Brian. There's nothing respectful about
What did I say that was
you or
disrespectful?
Lucas
What did I
have been
say that was
this entire
disrespectful to
time.
you? What did I say that was
When you want to
disrespectful?
come for my swimming abilities is crazy. That is
I did
crazy.
not come.
Okay.
The fact. Okay, you don't understand why I said that, and I'm going to try to explain it to you again. The reason why
Please.
When she said name me 3 female swimmers, I wish he could have named the 4 that beat her.
people know who you are is not because of your swimming. I'm sure you were a great swimmer.
Brian,
It's because
I
you're
did
on
not
TV
ask for
attacking
this. I
transgenders.
did not want to be doing this. This is not where I want to be. I
You don't
said
accept
told
money
me
for
to be
making
attentive,
speeches?
Okay? Like,
You don't
not
accept
where
money
I
to
asked
make
to be,
speeches?
but it's people like you
Do you know how
who
much
talk to
money
me
it
privately
costs
that continue
to get
to
into these
give me a
conversations,
platform.
Brian?
It's not even the words that I'm saying, it's the words that you're saying that give people like me
So somebody
sane,
forced you.
common sense,
All right,
normal
understood.
people.
I do find Brian, I do find your line of attack on Riley utterly inexplicable, because she did
I disagree.
not create the situation. She lost a place
Did
in
somebody force
the
you
top
back?
race because somebody
Did some-
thought it was a good idea for a 6'3" male to compete in her race.
I don't feel that way.
That's what started this.
I don't feel that way at all.
I want to ask one thing of Jeffrey before we finish this. Jeffrey, there was an allegation from Lucas there that you've used the N-word. Do you want to respond to that? I think it's fair that you respond.
I've never called a black person that. That's been debunked. And the second thing you said, I've never said before. So please stop
We have
lying.
video evidence of it.
It's just the same.
But I think
thing
the point that I
as
want to make, just
about
lastly,
me,
is the
Riley, and
hypocrisy of
Charlie.
the Republicans. Well, I think that the hypocrisy of the Republicans, when it comes to individuals like Jeffrey, when we have a party that's for marriage between a man and a woman, but then they celebrate, or in some cases deride, what happened with David Rubin and his marriage. I think it's
And you defended him,
when it comes to
Charlie
Riley
Kirk.
Gaines. I think it's hypocritical when it comes to Riley
You listen to
Gaines.
video?
Talking about trans as Fox News hires Caitlyn Jenner, as we had Blair White and how the
Caitlyn
right
Jenner's a friend of mine, so what's
Blair
your
White
point?
as she.
I was with Dave
Is
Rubin
Caitlyn Jenner-
last week.
Is Caitlyn Jenner a man? Riley Gaines, is Caitlyn Jenner a man?
Yes, and I tell Caitlyn that he's a man. I tell Caitlyn I will call you.
This is ridiculous. If Caitlyn Jenner, I will never understand, because if she is friends with Riley Gaines and Riley Gaines is going to sit there and say you're a man to her, like, how much of a cuck are you?
By Caitlyn, I will not use she, her pronouns.
This is
Because
what I'm talking
Caitlyn
about
says
as
to
far
me,
as using.
I don't need you to
You're
use she,
using
her
tokens.
pronouns
This is
to
what
talk
the
about
right
me.
does.
Because I
Whether
don't
it's black
need you to
tokens,
affirm
whether
me.
it's
I
trans
do what I
tokens,
do
you're
because I'm
using
affirming
species.
myself. I don't need someone else to affirm the life
How
that I live.
do
That's
you
what Caitlyn
affirm
says to
yourself?
me.
How do you talk about as far as the trans issue, as far as men going to women's bathroom, while befriending someone who's literally part of that problem?
I can
Let me
be
ask you, Riley,
cordial
are
with
kids
someone
born trans?
and still
Are kids
acknowledge
born
a
trans,
problem.
Riley?
That is a foreign concept to
Riley,
you
are
and
kids born
Brian.
trans?
Clearly, not me.
Riley,
not
are
me. Not
kids born
Charlie,
trans?
by the way.
Are
Not Charlie.
kids born trans, Riley?
Can I just
Are
say?
kids born trans?
Can I just have 20 seconds? Can I just have
You know
20
what?
seconds just to say one quick thing?
If
You've
it's
had
all
the whole
short,
show,
I
Brian,
appreciate
and
it.
Lucas.
Some of it's 20
The
seconds.
entire
Okay,
time.
excuse me.
Apologies.
Excuse me. I care
Please
about
stop
kids.
talking.
I care about women. Riley, I'm willing to believe that your heart is in the
This
right
is such
place.
baloney.
Okay. I also.
This is
Can
such
I
baloney.
just finish my 20-second statement?
You talk about misogyny.
Okay.
You are the most
stand
condescending,
with women.
mansplaining individual.
I'm condescending. You support the guy who bragged about grabbing women by the justice.
Okay, you know what? We've begun this debate by talking about the importance of trying to all come together and have some unity and public discourse back to how it should be, and we've ended up as a squabbling barnyard. I'm going to leave it there. I thank you all for your contributions. Thank you.